Hey everybody, this is a video overview of this knife, and this knife is the G10 Liner Lock Quiet Carry Drift. And I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to show you some size comparisons. I'm going to talk a little bit about the specs, and then I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like. So let's do size comparison first between this knife and one of the knives that I think is one of the better pocket knives on the market, and that is the Benchmade Mini Grip. As you can see, they're almost exactly the same size. They are very close. The Mini Grip is a little thicker, but not a ton thicker. And let's see if we can show you the blade length. As you can see, the Quiet Carry Drift has a much wider blade, but it's about the same length. It's maybe a little shorter. Trying to line it up. Nah, they're about almost exactly the same. Another knife that's really close to the Quiet Carry Drift is this knife. This knife is the Neutron from Three Rivers Manufacturing. As you can see, this knife has a really thin blade stock. They're almost identical in terms of their blade thickness. This one has a little bit of chamfering on the top edge, so it doesn't look as thick, but I can tell you that they are almost identical in their thickness. They both also have pretty broad blades, and they have very similar handle shapes. As you can see here, they're really, 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 really close. And they're both thumb stud knives. They're both liner lock knives. They're really, really close. So if you've been pining for this knife and you can't find one, you might want to think about getting this knife. Although I will tell you, since the G10 versions have come out, they have a black, a gray, and an orange G10 in addition to the full titanium version. I tried to buy this once and it was sold out, and I tried to buy it again and I got one, and then I went back to check again to see if there were other colors, to see what the availability was like, and they were gone. So this is a relatively difficult knife to hit right now. I do think they're going to make more because it's going to be a good knife. So let's take a look at it in comparison to the US dollar. Here it is next to the US dollar. It is significantly smaller than the US dollar. Here it is in thickness. For a AA battery. As you can see, the AA battery is considerably thicker. The Quiet Carry Drift has a 3-inch blade length. It's probably just a little bit under 3 inches. Let's take a look. Let's wait. El Cheapo Black Friday special. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, from the tip of the handle, it's probably 3 inches, but it's probably like a 2.75 inch. It is just at 3 ounces. This one costs $240. The full titanium one costs around $300. And here's the really cool part of the knife, right there. This blade steel is Vanax Super Clean, which is sort of the European answer to the LC200N. It is a blade steel that is designed to be 100% corrosion resistant. And so that's a really cool thing. If you look at the recipe, you can see that the recipe is basically a souped up version of L-Max. So think of this as like L-Max with way more, or significantly more corrosion resistance. That probably justifies the price here. I mean, this is not a cheap knife, but it's also not mega expensive. And to get what is essentially a unique steel, there were some Sheregorovs that were using it, but right now the only company that's making a knife with this steel is Quiet Carry, and it is really, really good steel. I've had this knife for about a week and it's just cut super well. So let's talk about things I like. Obviously, the first thing I like is I really like the blade steel. Anytime you have a unique or interesting blade steel, given how crowded the market is right now, that's a good thing. It sets you apart. The other thing that I really like about this knife is I love the thin steel. I mean, this is one heck of a slicer, because not only is the steel mega thin, but the blade is really, really tall. And so by the time you get to the cutting edge, the steel is really thin and just absolutely slicey. I love, 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 love that. The other thing that I like is I really like how they did the G10 here. You know, there is some texture here, but it's not so abrasive that it's, you know, offensive. They chamfered the edges, but they didn't do it in a way that, you know, bubbled everything over. It still has a little bit of a crispness to it to give that visual appeal. I like the color. I like the fact that the hardware is all brushed. They did a great job with the hardware. It looks nice and clean. I really like the wire clip. The wire clip is excellent. The thumb studs are also really, really good. You can bump them or you can flick them, and they always work. Another thing that I really like about the knife is I love the grip. You know, this choil here, not only does it allow you to sharpen all the way to the edge, but it does put your hand right up next to the blade. And that's something that you won't find on a lot of knives, especially, you know, like you can look at something like a triple lock design mini dauntless, Hinder mini dauntless that has that same thing. Or the Strider PT will put your finger right up next to the blade, but it doesn't have this kind of choil. It actually has a ricasso. So there's a break between the end of the blade and the choil. There's actually like a little divot there. So overall, I think that there's a lot going for this knife. The one thing that I'm not super thrilled about, and I haven't decided if it's a flaw or not, is as you can see, let's see if I can get the light to hit it just right there. That's about all the access you're going to get to the lock bar. And it's enough. I mean, I can hit it with my thumbnail, but as you can see on my thumbnail, I've been carrying this knife for a while. It now has this divot in it, which is, you know, not going to bother me, but it's weird. And having the knife have such a small amount of access to the liner lock is a little strange. I would prefer more, so it's not as much of a fine-tuned operation, but it's not the end of the world. Overall, I think this knife is an excellent choice. This is a really good all-around carry knife. It's a good size, it's a good shape, it's good in the hand, it gives you a ton of control, the steel is unique, and the price is not bananas. I mean, we live in a world now where, you know, a $70, $80 knife, $100 knife is a mid-priced knife. This is not more expensive than a Rayot. This is not more expensive than a Sebenza. And I think that the knife is just as nice. And the steel is significantly more interesting. So if you're looking for a mid-priced knife that you can just throw in your pocket and not worry and do everything, this is a pretty good choice. Also, I will tell you, I always prefer liner locks over frame locks, simply because you don't need the over travel stop and all that kind of malarkey. It just makes it much easier to run the knife. This is an overview of the Quiet Carry Drift in G10. Look for a video written review coming soon.